This is the Huey Alert Podcast with Craig and Shelly Huey, bringing you the tools to transform our nation and culture, the intersection of faith and politics.
Hi, it's Craig Huey of the Huey Alert Podcast, and I'm so glad you joined us. I'm here with my beautiful bride,
Hey,
Shelly,
everyone.
and we're here at an investment conference. And one of these things about this conference is it's focusing on oil and gas.
Wow. I can't wait to hear.
Okay, and oil and gas, of course, we're seeing gasoline prices, we're seeing gas rising. We've talked about issues of a shortage of gas, of the Biden administration putting on regulations on gas and oil. So we want to cover some of these topics.
That's good. And, I think pretty much everyone is coming from a standpoint of what do we do now?
Right.
All these what ifs are out there, right?
Yeah.
So who do we have today?
We have Ed.
No, Ed?
Yes.
Ed who? Kovalik?
Yes.
Come on. Okay, so this guy is amazing. Why
Yeah.
is he amazing? Tell us what he does.
So he has a background in oil and gas that goes back for, I think, and let me ask Ed, 20 years?
Not to age myself, but about 25.
25 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're one of the nation's experts on what's going on in oil and gas. And with that, Ed, what I want to do is find out what's going on. We're hearing that the Biden administration is they stopped the Keystone Pipeline right away. First thing they did, they put restrictions on leasing oil and gas in federal land. They put a variety of restrictions that have cut down on the ability to explore for oil and gas. And then in California, in some of these states, they're really clamping down on production of oil and gas. What is this war on gas that's going on?
Well, I think it's a fundamental war on fossil fuels.
Yes.
And it's not really a theory. They've come out and said this.
Right.
Yeah.
And they've been leading everyone to believe that we're going through an energy transition
Yes.
to renewables, attempting to achieve net zero by 2050. Of course, we in the energy world professionally know that that's fantasy,
Right.
an impossibility, and frankly, just a lie.
Right.
And so bad policy follows bad ideas.
Right.
And I think
Right.
that's what you're seeing.
Right. Well, one of the issues, I guess, in the investment world has been DEI, and also imposing, the whole ESG standards to investing in oil and gas, and that's had an impact on exploration. Where because of this ideology that's driving investment firms, that oil and gas has not been getting the investment money that it's supposed to be. Can you explain that to them?
Yeah, the ESG phenomena was really, I'd say, a little bit of financial engineering.
Right.
Coming from a background on Wall Street, I'll tell
Yeah.
you that anytime investors can think about a way to package a strategy so
Right.
that they can capture more investor capital to
Yes.
manage and garner fees, they do that.
Yes.
And so some clever folks on Wall Street came up with this idea of ESG investing,
Yeah.
and that birthed ESG funds.
Yes.
But the real knock-on effect from that
Mhm.
was that pension funds, who are allocators of capital,
Right.
basically bullied their managers,
Right.
through the whole hedge fund and institutional investment community,
Right.
into ceasing investment in fossil fuels.
Mm.
Yeah.
And really deeming it a sin stock,
Right.
like gambling and tobacco.
Right.
And that had a profound effect on available cash available to oil and gas companies
Right.
to develop. And so I think now we're seeing the pendulum swing away from that. And it's always for real economic reasons that this
Right.
happens, namely because ESG funds have grossly underperformed the rest of the market.
Yep.
So
Can you do a favor for
Yeah.
me? Can you name a few of those ESG funds that maybe some of our audience would be familiar with and they would be able to track better?
Well, all the big institutional investment houses have them. You know, BlackRock being the most
Okay.
famous.
Right.
But strategies that don't perform over time see capital flight over
Right.
time,
Yeah.
and that's what's happening. And that's
Yeah.
what's great about this country.
And that's the free market at
Yeah.
work.
Absolutely.
And so you can have an ideologically driven social policy, try to impose it, but if it doesn't match up to the real world, it's going to come out. And that's exactly what has happened. Let me ask you about this. We're at a conference where down here in Miami, filled with the top investment newsletter writers in America. These are some of the very best. And they're all here to learn about oil and gas. You've had some amazing speakers that have come, and you're helping sponsor this conference. And in doing so, you're giving awareness to not only the issues of oil and gas, but also about investing in oil and gas. Tell me a little bit about this. Why should an investor think in terms of investing in oil and gas sector right now when everybody's talking about AI and everybody's talking about other types of things?
Well, they're
to get
also
into?
talking about the election.
Hi, I'm Craig Huey, the Huey Alert, and I really appreciate you as a podcast listener. And I appreciate also our sponsors that make the podcasts possible. I'm not an investment advisor or investment newsletter writer. I'm a geopolitical commentator, but one thing I do know is that oil and gas prices are going up and the government is putting more restrictions on them, and then there's a unique opportunity that investors could take advantage of. If you're interested, you might want to consider getting a free report that we put together called Biden's War on Energy. And although the purpose of this program is not to make an investment recommendation, we should note that an affiliate of the Huey Alert has separately been engaged in connection with the Investor Relations Services for Prairie Operating Company, a publicly traded oil and gas company and our sponsor. And you can easily get this simply by going to the QR code that's on your screen, or you can go to megatrendalert.com, megatrendalert.com. And you'll get the free report, no obligation. Hope you enjoy it. Back to our show.
That in itself is causing a lot of people to be really afraid of that topic at all, oil and gas. And so if you attach that into an investment piece, how do you quell their fears? Like, what would you say?
Well, you know, our industry has been challenged for quite some time for a whole host of reasons, some of them self-inflicted, namely because as a result of the shale boom, most of our peers outspent cash flow and found themselves with really unhealthy balance sheets and a whole ton of debt. And when prices go against you, of course, bankruptcies follow. And so we as an industry haven't done ourselves any favors. But where we are today is that we're generating the highest free cash flow yield of any industry on the S&P, yet trading at the lowest possible valuation. And so we may lack the sizzle of AI, but we also lack the complexity and execution of our business plan because we're just a simple extractive business.
That's why I think I saw these investment newsletters really like what you presented as far as your company is
You
concerned.
just said something that got me
What's that?
excited. Sorry.
That's okay.
Free cash flow.
Yes.
That's amazing. I mean,
Yeah.
I want to hear more.
Okay.
We're big believers in businesses actually generating cash flow.
Yes.
And that's why we're fundamentally in this business. And something that's really informed our strategy is namely to be completely unlevered because there's no predicting what commodity prices do over time. And I really like sleeping well at night, as I'm sure your viewers do as well. And we all know if we have a lot of debt, we don't sleep well at night. And so for that reason, we have no debt, and it's our fundamental bias to operate without any debt. And our assets are prolific from a margin perspective and cash flow perspective. So I always say that if you need to lever up your company today in this sector, you probably have the wrong assets.
So, Ed, my guess is that you would find that our viewers, our listeners, they understand the fundamentals of oil and gas to the extent that this is necessary for a healthy America, and that the war on gas that's been going on has been very unhealthy. And when they think in terms of investing in oil and gas, they probably think in terms of Chevron, Exxon. They think in terms of the big corporations. Now, you represent a very small company. Why would they think in terms of investing in you versus something that they know?
Well, I'm also an investor in Exxon and Chevron,
Yeah.
and I think those are great investments.
Yeah.
But what we offer is really a very different investment opportunity
Right.
that we think is appropriate in folks' portfolio, and that's frankly why we've deployed a lot of our own cash.
Yes.
And why we're major shareholders in the company.
Mm-hmm.
And what we're really trying to do is present a high growth, aggressive growth opportunity for
Right.
investors. And and when we say that, we really mean triple digit target growth annually. And the way assets are developed in this industry is you always start with land.
Right.
And you develop that land into a cash flowing asset.
Mm-hmm.
Typically, private equity funds companies like ours privately that develop value in an asset by taking it into production and driving cash flow and growth. And so what we wanted to do was really build a company in the public markets and allow investors to participate in that phase of value creation,
Yes.
which they never would in a public company, because that's usually reserved for private equity investors.
Wow.
That's
And so
amazing.
that was really
That's
kind of our
pretty exciting.
Yeah.
that was our proletariat inspiration.
that's
for this
awesome.
company.
So,
It's
so I
really
have
awesome.
a question. Where's the land that you have?
Well, it's all in Colorado,
Okay.
the beautiful state of Colorado in Weld County. Our land is up by the Wyoming state line. It's just a prolific hydrocarbon basin called the DJ Basin. It's a rural part of the state. It's really driven by agriculture and oil and gas revenue. The county is 90% Republican, so we're playing to the home team
about
there. We
that?
don't have protesters, and
I was going to say Colorado. That's fascinating.
yeah, so Colorado has really imposed very staunch environmental standards for operation, which we don't mind at all. We don't think there's any conflict with being a high growth oil and gas company, yet doing that in a way that is responsible environmentally. And so we think we make the cleanest molecule of oil anywhere in the world, which then frustrates us to no avail to see our administration going to countries that produce the opposite,
You
the
would think
dirtiest
they'd be applauding
molecule,
it. It makes no sense to me.
in trying to motivate Iran and
Yeah.
Venezuela
Yeah.
to produce really low quality, environmentally insensitive oil.
Well, I'm not an investment analyst or an investment newsletter writer, but I am an observer of geopolitical trends and mega trends. And I got to tell you, Ed, I think that the oil and gas industry is one of those areas that is going to probably continue to show itself as a boom area and absolutely necessary. So if someone's interested in your company and investing in it, what's the symbol? Where should they go to be able to learn more about this?
Well, we're traded on the NASDAQ.
Yeah.
Our ticker symbol is PROP, PROP. You can look up our filings. We just actually announced a public offering of stock in an underwritten deal led by Truist, which is the 8th largest bank in the country. Because we're also acquisitive, we think it's a great opportunity to buy assets today. And so,
well, I think another thing, Shelly, about this company that I found fascinating
Which
is that not only do these investment newsletters like it, but you have on your board of directors a couple of very interesting people that have really caught my attention. And one is Mark Burnett.
that's right. We've been able to attract some great investors, Mark amongst them. He's been a vocal supporter of the company. He's recently joined our advisory board, and
Yeah.
we're glad to have him.
Wow.
It's cool.
Yeah, very cool. Well, very good. Thanks so much for listening. Appreciate it. Next week, we'll have another great guest. And here's what I'd like you to do. I'd like you to take this podcast and what do we want them to do?
Share it.
And how can they share it?
You tell me.
They can do it on Facebook.
Oh,
They can text it out.
that's right.
They can email it out.
Or to just friends. Just send it to friends.
Absolutely.
Get the word out, though, because Prairie, PROP, on the NASDAQ, boom, there you go.
Thanks so much for listening. Next week, another great guest. Thanks. Hi, Craig Huey here. Thanks for sticking around and hearing Ed speak about the amazing things Prairie Operating is bringing to market. Listen, we know that the radical Democrats have already declared an all-out war on fossil fuels. And the rest of the lunatics in office and in the bureaucracy, they're busy peddling their green energy fantasies. But where there's a problem like this, there's opportunity. And my friend, Tim Collins, he believes there's a unique investment opportunity for his subscribers at the Streetlight Confidential. It's an investment newsletter I've known about for years. I encourage you to give his analysis of Prairie Operating Company a review. He's even prepared a special report you can download for free. So head over to topoilstocks.com. That's topoilstocks.com. You're going to be able to learn more. Get the free report today. I'm not an investment advisor. I'm not a newsletter writer on investments. I'm a geopolitical commentator. But one thing I do know, and that's that oil and gas prices are going up. Although the purpose of this program is not to make investment recommendations. We should note that an affiliate of the Huey Alert has separately been engaged in connection with investor relations services for Prairie Operating Company. And Prairie is a publicly traded oil and gas company.
Thanks for joining us this week. We are listener-supported, so please consider partnering with us by donating at craighuey.com or by signing up for our free newsletter. We look forward to being with you next week. And don't forget to share this podcast with others.